It should be. Does it make a really big clicking noise?
Yeah.
Come forward. Come forward. Come and get comfy. Come in, come in, come in. Are you okay at the back? Come in. I don't want you to not hear. Do you see this scar here? You know, I really don't mind. People have said different things about it, and I mean, for a time, it looked quite hard. I really don't mind though, and I think actually it gives me quite a bit of character in a way, and you just come to terms with it. And actually, it's now been superseded by other scars because I was also run over about 10 years ago. Sorry, you were run over. Yeah, so I've got this other scar on my face, and I mean, if someone asks me about it, which rarely happens, and if I don't feel like telling them, I just say, oh, it was a road accident, you know. And you see, I've got this scar on my nose. You probably can't see it from there, but, well, it's where I fell off my bike because, well, my life is just hugely dramatic, and this lorry ran me over and my spine was broken, but my face, it was my face that just looked a terrible mess, and I was stitched up by a dentist actually at hospital. Sorry, a dentist? Yeah, they got a dentist to stitch my face because dentists, they've got super stitching skills. So there's this scar here under my eye, which I don't know if you can see. So what happened when you were run over? Well, I was cycling in London, and I came off my bike in traffic, you know, and I got run over by this lorry, and I remember it really clearly. Did everything slow down? Yeah, it did, funnily enough. I guess it's the same if you're in any crisis, you know, everything kind of rushes to the front to help you, and I remember breathing out as this lorry went over my body. I do Aikido, and it's all about being empty and being full, and I just remembered thinking if I breathe out it won't hurt as much, but I think that's quite incredible that you thought to do that. I mean, you're being run over and you think to exhale. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rely on myself to do it again, but I swear it helped. Where was it? In London? Camberwell. At the crossroads of Camberwell and Walworth Road, where the road goes up to King's College Hospital. So luckily it was only a 3-minute screaming ambulance journey away, and I was quite lucky about that. Of course, my bike, well, that disappeared forever. I sometimes wonder what happened to it. Well, as you're telling me about your scar story, I'll tell you about this one here on my arm. Can you see it? And that happened when I was about 4, and I was in a PE lesson. I think I was being a squirrel or a hedgehog, I don't remember which. But it used to go the whole length of my arm, and as I've grown, it's shrunk. Of course, in the summer it's more visible, and so it's a conversation point because people see it and they ask me what happened. Do you often touch your scar like you're doing now? Yeah, I guess I do. I quite like it. I quite like the dip here and the change in texture, I guess. Yeah, I must touch it quite often. Sometimes it feels like that accident. It feels like it happened to somebody else. You know, you carry the same body through life, but you're a different person to when those scars got made. I'm so different from when I was 22, and I think it was just a casualty of being young, and I don't feel too bad about it, and actually I don't think it's ruined my looks too much, and they've all just become part of my character. I think that's a really positive attitude you've got. I mean, I've got bad eyesight, okay, but maybe it's some form of memory of what the scars used to be like. And when I was run over, for a long time here, it looked like a tyre mark that had gone over my leg. I'm not sure. The lorry went over me and I don't remember, but there's a bit of misshapery here around the leg, which did feel, I felt a bit odd about it for a while. And I mean, my point of view on this is that everybody has something, you know, everybody has something wrong with them. No one's perfect, and actually these little things add character and maybe not make us who they are, but they're layers of what we're kind of attached to. Did you feel like that at the time? Well, no, I was devastated, and the shock, it was awful, and I was in trauma really, and I looked dreadful, and there was bruising, terrible bruising. I mean, I don't know what I looked like. I was green, blue, red. So I just, you know, I kept saying it would be okay, it'll be all right, the bruising will go. Okay, if the scarring won't go, but at least I can see, I've got my eyes. So there's these kind of qualifications that you make. But what about your leg? Well, I'm kind of fascinated with it now, because still, 20 years on, there's this kind of divot here. And it looks just like the tyre went over me. And the skin, I don't know how to say it. I guess it's puckered. I mean, I never saw it because the lorry, I mean, it was a big lorry, it went over my back, so this is minimal damage, really. I mean, I've got the back injury as well, and the scar on my face. Well, I remember thinking, more bloody scars on my face. And the nose thing, the nose is awful, and I've never been that keen on my nose anyway, and now there's a bloody scar on it. But so it's either because I curled round and breathed out, or the tyre stomped onto it. I'm not quite sure. And I hated it for a while. So that's what happened there. Did I feel funny about taking my clothes off? Not really, not for that long. I thought it's all right, it's a bit more character to me. And my legs are all right. And you're here. Yeah, I'm here. I think that's something about me, actually, that every time I think there's a silver lining and I polish it like fucking hell. It's just one of the things that I do. But isn't that a really lovely trait about you? I don't know, I've sort of madly taught myself to do that, but at the same time I know it makes me slightly stupid sometimes because I'm so optimistic and I feverishly polish away, and that can be a bit of a problem. Yeah. But I think the ability to look at the bright side is really important. But like you say, at the time you really don't feel like it. But over time you can start to think, yeah, I mean, at the time when I was run over, the main thing I was thinking, well, I remember saying to them, am I going to be here? And they said, you're going to be here for at least 6 weeks. And I remember thinking, oh no, you don't know me. 2 weeks and I'm out of here. But of course they did know. So it was 5 weeks. So I kind of managed to squeeze a week short, cut it a bit short. And the first time I remembered being picked up off the road, I remembered coming round and seeing this skull on the wall, and it was an x-ray of my skull as I came round. And I remember looking at it projected on the wall and thinking, bloody hell, that's me. And it had a fissure on it here in the front. I had head fractures, but only very light ones. And I was laying there and I said, is that my head? And they said, yes. And I said, am I going to die? And they said, well, we don't think so, but your spleen may rupture. And I remember thinking, even back then, that's not going to happen to me. But you know, you can feel when it's broken. You can feel when your back's broken. There's two things that work at the same time. There's this kind of optimism that, oh, hang on, everything's going to be all right. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? So you compensate all the time, and I think everybody does in one way or another, but it was horrible. Lying in that bed was horrible, and I remember looking in the mirror. I mean, they wouldn't give me a mirror for a few days because of everything. But you asked to look. Yeah, I asked. I mean, the nose was a total crisis area for me, and I said, look, I just need to see it. So I asked for a mirror, and they said, are you sure? And I was like, give me the mirror, I'm going to have a look. At some point, it's better to know than not. And I thought, it's bruising, it'll be okay, it will go. But of course, you're left with the scar. And what about your back, though? I mean, having a broken back, that must have been terrifying. Yeah, but I was lucky. I mean, I remember laying in that hospital bed, imagining myself dancing, actually moving, and I kept thinking, dance, jump, leap, things I can't actually do in real life, by the way, but I just imagined it. I just kept trying to send so many messages to remind my spine of what it could do, but it was horrible. I had this Stoke Mandeville bed that kind of tips you one side and then the other, and a nurse would come around and crank you. You're not really meant to move at all on your own. Of course, what happens is the bed is raked, so you slip slowly down the bed over time, and because you're trying to lie like this, and of course the nurses have got hundreds of other people to deal with, you slowly slip down. So I've got this thickened bit of vertebra now, which sticks out more than the others, and in fact, I always notice it. But I go swimming, I try to keep fit as possible, I do yoga, and most mornings I try to stand on my head to straighten. Has it stopped you riding a bike? No, it hasn't made me stop riding a bike totally, but it's made me a lot more careful. More careful, not in terms of style, but I always look up the road first. What was the day and date of the accident? It was a Friday, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was raining, and I stupidly decided to wear a black coat. Not a raincoat with more colour in it. I even had one of those stripes. Do you think if you'd worn it, maybe it wouldn't have happened? Well, I remember thinking, shall I put it on? Nah, I'll be all right. And then I thought, 2 days before then, 2 days before that accident, someone said to me, are you frightened of cycling in London? And I thought, no. And on the day that it was raining and I was cycling home, someone said to me, would you like a lift? And I turned it down. I've never forgotten that offer of a lift home. But I haven't changed, and I recognise the cautiousness in myself now. Shall I do this? No, it will be okay. I try not to behave like that. But then again, I don't know anybody who maybe doesn't have things happen to them or doesn't have a scar, and skin heals, right? And we have to move on. Do you remember the ambulance journey? No. So who rang for one? Well, someone did. I mean, I remember the lorry going over me. That was horrible. And I remember thinking, oh, God, the lorry, because I'd sort of half seen it. And I remember looking up and seeing a whole load of people standing round, horrified. It was before mobile phones, so someone must have run to a booth and made a call, unless there was a phone system in the lorry, but I don't remember. And the ambulance guys, I remember them coming and saying, you'll be all right, dear, you'll be all right. They were lying, though. I remember when I was in casualty, there was a nurse working there, and I actually remembered her because we'd played tennis together when we were at school. And it was just so surreal seeing her in the hospital in A&E, and she said, do you remember me? And I said, of course. And there was this sudden sense of relief that went round A&E. I think I was awake on that table for most of the time. In fact, I was so frightened I didn't want to go to sleep. But I kept asking, can I go to sleep now? And they kept saying, just wait, dear, just wait till we get you upstairs. There's just a few more things. And that's all I remember, really. I remember getting into this ward, which was full of old ladies, and thinking, oh, bloody hell, I don't want to be stuck on an old ladies' ward. And then there's a series of snapshots, remembering this and that, like my parents coming and my dad asking me about the bike, and friends coming and looking completely horrified at me. And the scissors. The noise of the scissors when they cut my clothes off me when I laid in the table in A&E. The cutting sound as they went through my clothes. But everything was taken care of, and all I needed to be concerned about was getting better. Do you feel a bond to that nurse, the girl you used to play tennis with? Well, I guess there's two bonds, actually. There's her, and then there was this other nurse whose hand I nearly broke by hanging on to it because of fear and pain. Having a hand to hold is really, really important when you think you could slip off at any moment. Holding a hand can give you a lot of strength, you know. And I remember afterwards that woman introduced herself to me, and she said, "You nearly broke my fingers, love." And I thanked her. She said, "I've had bruises on my hand for days now, you know. And I guess for the rest of my life, I'll remember her in a very special way." I remember her. I remember her hand. I can still feel it, actually. It was so small. And when she showed me her hand, it was perfect. And I just remember holding it, and I remember thinking my hand was so much bigger than hers. And I remember her having a strong grip. I guess it's such an important job in hospital, the hand holding thing. Touch, it's so important for sick people. So, so important. Without the scar, do you think you'd remember the accident like you do? Of course I would. I remember it because it was just awful. But the sight of the scar, if you didn't have the scar, would it trigger the memory of it as often? Well, the thing is, I don't really think about it much. I mean, I've got a clear memory of it, and we're talking now, and I can remember everything. I've kind of got a bit of a file brain system where I can store information and I can quite quickly shut things out. Will you be pondering now, do you reckon, about our conversation? Yeah, probably. I mean, maybe there's different bits I'm remembering, or maybe my memory's fixed, because sometimes you talk about it to different people in different places and you remember different things. But actually I'm not remembering things much differently now, and it feels like the memory's kind of solidified. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's because the scar's not gone. Whatever it is, I just think, oh, there's a bit about my friends, actually. Now you come to mention that one friend came and washed my hair. And I remember thinking how lovely that was, because I hadn't been able to wash my hair. And the ambulance driver, I'd forgotten his face, and he was slightly, now he's more in the foreground. Because of the way we're talking, the scar doesn't go away though, does it? They're reminders of the event. It's like a signature, because skins, it's like paper, it's just kind of there. It gets marked over time. When you look at it, when you look at the marks properly, it triggers off these memories. Like you have objects or photographs at home and they're just there, fading over time, and it's only when you stop and look at them, it triggers something off. They hold you to a time, takes you to a specific moment. Rhiannon,